Yes, y'all. Episode 113 coming at you guys. What's going on, people? Welcome to On the Mark Wrestling Podcast. I am your boy Kayode, joined by none other than the administrator himself, Luis. Our boy Joel is out on assignment. He'll be back soon. But you got us. And thank you guys for showing love on the last episode. We had the 404 Heels on the podcast. They graced our podcast, man. We had a great conversation. Give it up for the Heels, man. They're out here doing their thing. Continue to support them. 404 Heels, y'all. Luis, what's going on, bro? How you doing, man?
What up, everybody? Welcome back to On the Mark Wrestling Podcast. This is 2/3. Your boy Luis, Kayode. Like Kayode said, my man Joel is on quote-unquote assignment. You know, I like that terminology. So if one of us is missing, we're on assignment.
On assignment.
That makes it sound so professional, despite the fact we ain't getting paid shit for this.
Exactly. We're on assignment. But man, we got Luis, man. We got to talk, bro.
Yeah.
We had a big weekend. Big weekend. What was supposed to be one of the biggest Survivor Series of all time. Ended up being just mid at best, my brother.
Yes, mid indeed.
Mid at best. The 2025 Survivor Series War Games took place in San Diego, California. In what was that? Is that where the Padres play?
Yes, Petco Park.
Petco Park, where the Padres play. 46,000 screaming WWE fans who are also probably broke as we speak, right now, paying for this event. But Luis, man, let's talk about this War Games, bro. The pay-per-view, the PLE as a whole. I talked to you about this earlier. I thought the PLE was mid at best, and I think I'm being very generous by saying it was mid. A lot of people weren't happy with the ending of the men's. A lot of people were saying there wasn't enough violence to make it a War Games. You had big names in the men's match, and they barely wrestled. They barely fought. They barely scratched each other. The wrestling was soft, like soft. SAWFT, soft, right? The only saving grace, Lou, of this entire PLE was the John Cena and I gotta say the John Cena and Dominic Mysterio Intercontinental Championship match. It had the return of Liv Morgan. Liv looked great. She's back. Thank God she's back. And it was just an entertaining match. Not something great. Not that it wasn't a wrestling clinic that young wrestlers are going to look at and say, hey, let's study this match. They may study it for the entertainment factor in terms of how to entertain a crowd. But other than that, though, the women's War Games match was just unnecessary, in my opinion. It just wasn't that good. One major spot, of course, Io jumping off a cage with a garbage can over her head. I feel like I've seen that at least 3 times now.
Yeah. That was like
4 match cards. Lou, where were you at with this, man? Like, are we tripping? Am I missing something?
Yeah, we're missing a whole lot of what should have been.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't really want to comment too much on War Games just because I feel like it came and went. Like that's really what this Survivor Series was. This is not a PLE that's going to stand the test of time. And if it does, it would only be because it was John Cena's last PLE event. The crowd was okay. The highlight of the night really was, speaking of Cena, was Cena versus Dom, the IC title match. Liv Morgan's surprise return, like you mentioned. Other than that, I wanna just comment on the War Games matches themselves because I really do think, and you hit on this on the Instagram and TikTok page where you gave your instant reaction,
Yes, yes,
and you pretty much hit the nail on the head. Like War Games didn't feel like War Games. Like it didn't live up to the title. And it got me thinking it's probably time for WWE to retire the War Games gimmick for at
mm,
least a year or two. Go back to having just traditional Survivor Series elimination tag matches, Raw versus SmackDown interpromotional type matches. They were doing that for years, and I was enjoying that format. Um, not so much when they were like exaggerating with the brand invasions and all that.
right.
When Raw was under siege, like not that stuff, but um, like I get that they wanted to spice Survivor Series up by introducing War Games to the main roster because it was so successful in NXT. But at least when NXT Takeover was doing it, it felt like an all-out war.
Yeah,
I'm not saying that the NXT matches had blood and guts, right? Like the way AEW does it, but it at least felt that all the superstars involved were battle tested and they were completely torn apart and worn out by the end of the match. Survivor Series 2025, I did not get that feeling from either match, from the women's or the men's. I just felt like everything that they did could have been done in a standard tag match or a standard elimination match.
yeah,
What was the purpose of having two cages? What for a top rope? I mean, a top of the cage trash can spot that we've already seen for like a table spot or two. I mean, it just didn't feel like anything epic, like what War Games should be.
right.
And I look, and I'm not even trying to compare with AEW. If I'm removing AEW out of the equation and what they did with Blood and Guts earlier a few weeks back, it, I just think that they need to give it a rest, man. Retire War Games and revisit it in about 2 or 3 years. Make it feel
Agreed.
special again. At this point, it's just you're you're keeping War Games just for the sake of selling tickets, but
Yeah.
you're not delivering. So that's my take on it. The War Games matches were nothing special. With the men's, they tried to create that buzzworthy moment. It was a buzzworthy moment with the guy in the hoodie, that figure. Mysteriously, we don't know who it is, but other than that, it wasn't really much to it, man.
But Lou,
I,
here's the
I get
thing
the,
with
I get
that.
the event as a whole a C. And
Yeah, I agree with you.
I don't think it was higher than a C.
I gotta. And speaking of that masked figure, bro, on Monday Night Raw, they barely addressed it.
I know. That's the thing. So that's
So
why I'm saying like this PLE event, it came and went.
they barely addressed it, which leads me to believe, Lewis, which leads me to believe that whoever was the masked man was a flop or is a flop because of the amount of this PLE was polarizing, but I think the majority of people would say that it was just lackluster in terms of the ending.
Yeah.
Rumors of ESPN being very unhappy with this WWE deal is all over the place.
Oh.
Um, could that be true? It's highly possible. I could see why,
I
because
believe it.
WWE, because yeah, WWE is playing it super safe, right? They're giving, dude, that was a 4 match card for 46,000 people. Like 4 matches and one was just okay, and not because of mostly wrestling, but just because of entertainment. Like
Right.
it's just like, come on, man. You give me 6 matches, which is bare minimum. I think 6 matches is fair. I think 6 solid matches, and you may get 2 that are bangers. AEW, you may get 5 that are like legit. Damn, these were good matches. WWE, you may just get one, and not because of what you think it's getting. It's getting those get that good review for. So you're right, man. It feels like Survivor Series came and went. It also feels like WWE is also trying not to talk too much about it. That masked man thing, I think whoever was under there might have been Austin Theory, which is everyone's biggest guess. If he took off that mask and revealed himself right then and there, that crowd would have probably turned on the entire PLE. So I think they're trying to not address it. But we'll see. Maybe hopefully next week they circle back and see if it's something to be addressed. If they don't address it, Lewis, that means they squashed whatever was supposed to happen with that masked man. They squashed it. They probably squashed it because they probably heard and saw all the internet hate. And we got to talk about, and Lewis, listen, man, Triple H is the biggest. He's the biggest carnival salesman of them all. This Raw is going to be epic. This Raw is going to be the greatest of all time.
What'd you call him? A carnival salesman.
Carnival salesman. We tune into Raw, and Raw was just good, right? You can't sit these marks on these podcasts who got 50,000 followers, who must be getting some free merch from WWE somehow, are sitting up here saying, Lewis, that was epic. Thank you, Triple H.
Come on.
Are you serious?
Come on.
The Raw was good. It was nowhere near epic. And the best thing out of Raw was the Gunther and Solo Sikoa match, which I got to give it up to your boy Solo. Solo. Listen, man. Solo looked like a regular Bret the Hitman Hart in there, man. He was performing his behind on him, man.
High. Like, I think that praise is too high. Slow down, Kayode.
No, too high. Way too high. But no, Solo did his thing. And Gunther, of course, being the master in the ring in terms of showing versatility, right? In terms of facial expressions and moves and almost teetering between good and bad guy and heel and fate, like all this stuff, right?
Yeah.
And he just did a really good job, and he made Solo look really good, which leads me to our next topic, Lewis, which is a kind of a good segue, man. What do you think of this John Cena tournament, and where do you think we're going with it? Because we got Gunther and LA Knight in the finals. That two people like that. Well, Gunther, I think we kind of suspected, but LA Knight, that's a very interesting finals match, bro. Where are you at with this, and where do you see it going come Saturday night's main event?
Well, I wanted to comment on Raw real quick. Raw was good. I never anticipated an epic night, because now I'm at the point where whenever they do use terminology like that, I'm like, here we go. Exactly. The perfectly on brand thing to do is hype up an event to be like the greatest thing since sliced bread, or epic beyond epic proportions. And I'm like, no, you're probably just gonna get a pretty good follow up to a PLE. And that's what it was. I mean, I was entertained. I wasn't bored by Raw. I thought Raw was solid. It was good. Did not see LA Knight defeating Jey Uso, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But they're doing something interesting with Jey Uso where they're teetering on. I mean, I don't think they're going to turn him heel, but they're probably wanting to give his character more edge and get a little bit away from the yeet stuff, and maybe just have his character as like a loose cannon. You know, maybe that's the story, right? He just goes on a losing streak, and he's like, yeah, I'm a yeet, but it's not going to be like on some too kid friendly type ish. Like I'm just gonna, like I'm gonna do it. Like when I enter the ring, I don't know. I'm trying to imaginary book this, but
yeah.
But this is good though. The fact that I can't really predict where it's going, that's good. So I like the decision to not have him advance to the finals, because Uso versus Gunther would have been too predictable.
Right.
And I think we all would have seen Uso take the loss. So it puts LA Knight in a good position. Obviously, LA Knight is getting a nice little babyface top
Mm-hmm.
top of the mid card, I guess lower main event scene type push.
Good for LA Knight,
So
man.
yeah, this is good. How I see it playing out, I'm very curious. The WWE definitely got my attention with this one. I do think Gunther advances to face Cena. I think Gunther will be Cena's last opponent. However, I can't really call it as far as whether they have Cena eat the pin on his last match. I don't know because they've already had him drop the IC title to Dom on his last PLE. So
Hmm.
I'm not sure what they do here, but I do think, like I mentioned on the previous podcast episode, Gunther sorely needs a really huge win to put his career back on that monstrous path
Mm-hmm.
that he once was in. So,
Luis,
yeah,
you don't see Gunther beating Cena.
that's what I'm saying. I want in my heart for Gunther to get the win, and Gunther for the person to retire Cena because then he'll always have those bragging rights, and that'll help elevate his character that much more. But there's a part of me that's saying WWE is going to royally screw all the Gunther fans and have Cena ride out into the sunset as the victor, which I think would be a mistake, a really bad mistake. Because Cena could still get his flowers and everything like that if
Yes.
you book the match to be extremely competitive with near falls and all of that, and Cena could still look good in defeat. Um, but it's like the
I
classic
don't.
the
I don't
classic
know if.
American Western tale, right? Where John Wayne going out on his high horse, but he's going out as like a shell of his former self.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Dude, I don't know if John Cena doesn't need to win this match. Like,
he doesn't.
it's his final match, right? There's nothing at stake here, right? It's basically ceremonial. That's what this is. And
Yeah,
in my opinion, if you're gonna have Gunther run the gambit of beating everybody and have him look like a complete just ring general, basically, right? Ring general, right? What would be the point to have him then lose on probably one of the biggest platforms in terms of, or biggest stages in terms of Saturday night's main event in the eyes that are going to be seeing this? Why have your biggest heel lose again in a very high profile match after beating and looking super dominant all the way up until there?
yeah, it's true.
He can't beat an aging, retiring Cena. It just doesn't. It's not believable to me. It makes no sense. Gunther needs to win. He should win. He absolutely needs to retire Cena, and Cena can still get the ceremonial pomp and circumstance that he would normally get if he did win. This is not a match for Cena to win. This is a match to get your biggest heel that you are trying to push for years to come, and to have a win like that, like you said, Lou, to have a win where he retires Cena under his belt, that is the biggest thing you can do for Gunther in his entire career. This
Yeah,
is all about Gunther and less about Cena. This is more about establishing the next generation of massive heels and possible baby faces versus Cena winning a match that means nothing for him. It would just be bad logical, like logically, like it just wouldn't make sense. There's no point for Cena to win, right? And there's no point for him. Yes, listen, he did take a pin at Survivor Series, which was rightfully so. He shouldn't be the Intercontinental Champion because you got Dominic, who he made look great, and Dominic
hmm
is the next big thing. Cena did his thing in terms of putting him over. Thank you, Cena, for that. Next, you need to put over your next biggest thing, which is your biggest heel in the company. He's been gone for a while. He's had some really bad losses. Now you need to make him look dominant again.
Yeah.
And this is the only way to do it. He needs to beat Cena, and he needs to beat Cena in a pretty, I wouldn't say dominating, but close to it kind of way, bro. Like he needs to make Cena work. Cena can't dominate Gunther. It's not believable.
Nah.
There's at least a 10-year age difference. Gunther is stronger. Gunther is taller. Gunther is faster. Gunther is more athletic. For all intents and purposes, if there was a tail of the tape, Lewis,
Yeah.
this match is unfair on paper. So I don't want to see Gunther lose. Gunther can't lose because then WWE, you're doing a disservice to the future of that company and the championship. You know what I'm saying? Just
Well said. Well said, my friend. Gunther needs the win more than anybody
he
right
needs
now.
to win, bro. And after all of his matches that he's been doing and having, which have been great, and even though he's won, he's made everyone in the ring he's been in with look good.
Yeah.
Javon Edmonds, like NXT superstar, who's going to be very big in a few years, as long as he doesn't crash out on his body and destroy himself physically. He's got to wrestle a little smarter, but he's young. He can heal up quick, all that good stuff, whatever. But he made Javon Evans. He made Javon Evans look like a star that night. Like
Yeah.
he made Solo, who a lot of us was sort of down on. It was like, Solo's all right. He made Solo look legit. Like, okay, Solo could do some stuff. Like every match Gunther has had has been to elevate in some shape the next guy or the person who WWE sees there's still some potential in. So it comes LA Knight. That match, LA Knight, that could put LA Knight on the map in terms of saying, hey, possible Royal Rumble candidate, like Royal
Yeah.
Rumble winner.
Yeah.
Like you said, Lewis, who did you say that were your top three or you had like top three Rumble possible winners?
Yeah, so offline listeners, I said, and we'll revisit this topic when we get closer to the Royal Rumble.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But my top three candidates for the winners of the men's Royal Rumble are LA Knight, Braun Breaker, and Dom Mysterio. I think those are. I think it's fair to say that those would be three of the top candidates to win the Royal Rumble in 2026. But yeah, that's another topic. But I wanted to give a shout out to Javon Evans because I was thinking of him earlier. Actually, like how damn talented he is.
Yeah, Javon is dope. And I'll tell you one thing right now. Who's not dope? And just off topic for a second, Lewis. And when you and I would talk about this, we were texting each other earlier when we were watching Dynamite. Your boy Hook needs a lot of work. God, oh my God, Hook is still bad, and he's still bad to the point where it feels like there's been no growth. In ring, promos, everything, Lou. Like he just feels like there's no one working with him, or if they are, he's just not getting it. And listen, just because your pops was a legend doesn't mean you will be.
Right.
Like
That's
maybe
true.
he just ain't grasping it. And him saying he's the greatest second generation superstar of all time is a complete, like, he's trying to address, of course, Dom, right? Without saying his name, of course. And Dom is leaps and bounds and centuries ahead of him. Hook needs a lot of work, Lou. We got to do something about Hook because in the beginning there was intrigue.
Yeah.
He was young and new and still really green, but now after some time he's regressed and seems like there's been just no development. I've meant to put him on my haters club, but I didn't have time to pull up the graphic. But but he might be on my haters club this week, Lou. Where are you at with Hook, man? Is there any hope for Hook?
I haven't been into Hook since he debuted a few years back.
Yeah.
like you said, when he first came onto the scene, there was that little bit of intrigue. He was young. He had an interesting look. His moveset was okay. But in the ensuing years, I have not been into Hook at all. I don't like the name. I don't like the presentation. I think he comes across like an actor that's
Yes.
trying to portray a wrestler.
Mm.
I don't get authentic pro wrestler vibes from him. And I get who your dad is and all of that. I understand that. But it's ironic how there's no hook to Hook. Like there's literally nothing that makes me say, let me stop what I'm doing because Hook is on TV.
Right.
You know what I mean? Unless he's facing like a Kyle Fletcher or somebody like that. But like Hook, no. He ain't it. Like
He ain't it,
he
man.
doesn't do anything for me, to be honest.
Hooking, yeah, and this on tonight on Dynamite. If for those who've watched or will watch, the promo was just not hitting. It just was what bland and one note, and just like Lewis said, very actor school student. Hey, in this role, I want you to portray a wrestler, and you're going to be cutting a promo. And
Yeah.
in this promo, you're going to say X, Y, and Z. And you're going to look at the camera and give me like snarl and just be real, tough. That's what it seemed like. Like a teacher was there coaching him to be a bad guy in wrestling. So, Hook, you had me go off on a tangent. Hook, you had me go off on a tangent. Lou, we got to get to some good news, man. Some good news for TNA.
Oh yeah.
TNA has a TV deal. Let's give it up for TNA. Yo, for years, man.
Holy shit.
We've been like, yo, where is TNA? How do I watch it? It's on Access. It's on the Hallmark Channel. It's on
Destination America.
Destination America. It's on
Pop
Dinosaurs
TV.
Cartoon. Yeah, it was ridiculous. You couldn't find TNA. TNA just was not. It just was no TV deal. TNA Wrestling Thursday Night Impact moves from Access TV to AMC, the same home of The Walking Dead. Lewis.
Well, I think Breaking Bad, but yes, The
and Breaking
Walking
Bad.
Dead.
Yeah, but Walking Dead's that's my joint right there. Lewis, what would you say, man? Is this a good move? Like, this is going to get some eyeballs on the TNA product. And do you think this is okay? Is this good for TNA? And you just give me your general thoughts, but I'm just some questions here. Is this good for your TNA? And do you think WWE had a lot to do with AMC saying, "Hey, listen, man, we'll give you 3 years, 30 million," and it's not. I mean, listen, 30 million compared to what WWE is getting and what even AEW is getting is nothing.
That's nothing. Yeah.
That's catering's budget for the 3 years, right? In those companies. Now, if you but 30 million extra, right? For 3 years, you could do a little something. You can maybe sign some more talent. You can up the production a little bit. Do you think WWE had a lot to do with this? And do you think this is a plus for TNA and the product? And you may know the TNA product more than me, but are there stars on TNA that will be interesting to even care about in this deal? What's your thoughts, man?
This is a loaded question, so we're gonna spend quite a bit of time talking about this because this is huge. Like my eyebrows raised out of shock and out of really genuine excitement, and I'm very happy for the company.
Yeah.
TNA has such a long history, but it's sort of a tainted history because they've never had that consistency of being on a national platform. I think the last time that we got that consistency was the mid to late 2000s, back when they were on Spike TV. What's Spike TV known as now? Is it still around, or is this something else?
God, I don't know if Spike's around. That's a good question.
Well, in any case, that was like the the most accessible, I guess you could say, from
Right.
back in the day when TNA had guys like AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, Christopher Daniels, Kurt Angle, not to mention. So this has been a long time coming, and I saw that Bully Ray, um, they were basically drinking like toasting to it on Busted Open this week because of how celebratory of a moment this should be. And not just for TNA as a company, but to all of its fans. And this is a win for the industry, for pro wrestling, because now you have another pro wrestling show on a major network.
Yeah.
And that's huge. So again, this is what we want as fans. We want alternatives. We want to be able to see wrestlers work in different settings and have different types of feuds and see different kinds of fans on TV. So this is a win, man. I applaud it in every aspect. There's literally nothing to hate on about this move, and especially if you've been a day one TNA fan. You know, I can't really call myself a day one TNA fan because I haven't consistently watched TNA like that. But you know, I do keep up with the product here and there. But now I have an extra incentive because it's on again. It's on AMC, and AMC is AMC. I mean, you mentioned The
Yeah.
Walking Dead. I mentioned Breaking Bad, but you got Mad Men. You have
Mm-hmm.
you know, all of these acclaimed shows. Like that's a very successful network. So AMC for me, that was like the shocking thing. I was like, wait, what? Like that? This is where TNA is going? Like, holy
Yeah.
shit! So 30 million may seem minuscule when you're talking WWE or AEW, but TNA can do a lot with $30 million. You
Right.
know, like you said, they can use that to develop more talent, to sign big names on the indies or sign big international names across the industry. So there's a lot of potential here. Now, you mentioned what I thought of in terms of the star power. I think they got some decent star power. With obviously you got the Hardys with that legend veteran presence. Because you mentioned the Hardys,
Mm-hmm.
everyone knows the Hardys.
Right.
But you know, you got Nick Nemeth. Everybody knows him. Who's, you know, unless you've been living under a rock, you know him as Dolph Ziggler. But you got guys like Moose. Um, I think I think the star power is decent. You know, you don't have as many big names as even AEW, but there's potential for growth there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think WWE had a very big part to do with
Yeah.
this,
For sure.
because ever since that working partnership agreement that WWE and TNA had, TNA has had more eyes on their product as a result, because you would have all of those crossover moments and matches and segments. You know, title TNA titles being defended and changed on NXT television and vice versa. So yeah, WWE absolutely helped in this regard. But we got to mention uh WWE, supposedly the story is that WWE will no longer be involved in any capacity or any way, shape, or form once TNA does start running their weekly television on AMC.
Mm.
So that's the story going around, and I believe it. I believe it, because now, what does WWE have to gain from a working relationship at this point if they already secured a huge TV deal?
Right.
Maybe that was the maybe that was the goal from the jump. You know, like, let's get TNA enough recognition and notoriety with you know, the cross brand promotion and things like that, and get them to the point where they become a lucrative, attractive product for any network that wants to bring pro wrestling into their portfolio.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's a good
So
point because you know, that probably was the deal. Like, hey, listen, we'll work with you, and maybe that's why we saw so many title changes from TNA to NXT wrestlers. Sort of like, hey, listen, let our guys hold these belts. Let people see that the prestige of being a TNA champion is pretty big, and that way, some of these networks, or if you approach these networks, you could see that WWE has some stake in this, and maybe that will help jumpstart some talks in terms of networks you could possibly get on. And maybe that helped, like you said, like maybe that was a jumpstart. Now I'm looking at this roster, Lou, and a lot of these people I don't know. Joe Hendry, of course, is now officially on NXT. Um, it
you got some good names. It's a good
yeah,
little
some
roster
good
there.
names, man. Like, there's some
Shout out to
some
my man Santana, Mike Santana.
Mike Santana, but dude, I mean, they crapped all over Mike Santana, man. Like, how do you have your boy win the title? He was the crowd was screaming for him to hold it and get that championship. He gets it, big response, and then loses it a month later just to Kazarian.
I
Like,
know, right?
out of all people, listen, I respect Kaz. I like Kazarian. I think he is he he can work. He's a great overall wrestler. But Mike Santana is the future. So what the hell? Why would you have Mike Santana drop so abruptly to Kazarian? It just didn't. It just the booking didn't make sense. The booking didn't make sense.
Hey, maybe it will by the time they premiere on AMC. Maybe Mike
Maybe.
Santana wins the title on the AMC premiere. Who knows?
Oh, you think it might be something like that? You
Yeah,
think they go
it
for like
could
a
very
big?
well be because they obviously need a buzzworthy big moment, right? So that could very well be part of the plan. Look, you got Tessa Blanchard,
Yeah, Tasha
Steve
Steele.
Steve Macklin.
Yeah, I mean, listen, there's
Is Zilla Fatu on this roster?
no, he's not.
He's not, right?
No,
Okay.
no, he's not.
Because he's made
Um,
appearances, but I know that he's with Fourth Rope and still working the Indies.
yeah, he's still working. So is he officially signed with Fourth Rope?
Yes.
Wow,
Yeah.
nice. Listen, man, I can't wait. Listen, maybe we need to get some of the Fourth Rope guys on this show before they become too big.
Yeah, I know, right?
We need to get some of them on the show. But Lou, I mean, listen, good for TNA, man. TNA is it's been a long time coming, and I gotta say, Lou, TNA is the brand that just won't go away. It survived everything.
Yo,
It
seriously.
survived changes in management, ownership, networks, stars, bookers. Like, Lou, TNA has survived.
I
If
know.
they can survive, if they can survive, anybody can make it because
Yo, for real.
this company should have been gone years ago,
Yeah.
like in the dust. Library owned by WWE. They're recreating Turning Point and Bound for Glory and Slammiversary PLE. Like, this company should have been gone, but they have not. They just won't go away. And now
I know.
they're definitely solidified for at least the next 3 years. So,
Yeah.
man, gotta listen. Gotta give it up for TNA. Gotta give it up. What's that children's story, Lewis? The little engine that could.
I was just gonna say you took the words out of my mouth. They are the little engine that could. This company was established in 2002. People, 2002. That's over 2 decades ago,
Yeah.
and they've been through it all. Like Kayode said, changes in management, name changes because it was called Impact Wrestling
Yeah.
for quite a few years.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but good for them because again, it's a win for us fans, the fans that have been dying for alternatives. We got AEW, and we're very blessed that
Yeah.
AEW exists. and now you have TNA on a more national platform. So if TNA comes to your town, you better be supporting.
Yeah, I mean,
Us
why not?
pro wrestling fans, us fanatics, especially the ones who pride themselves on keeping an open mind and trying to watch all of the other promotions and are attending indies and indie events and things like that. We're the ones who need to continue going to these events and tuning in and engaging in the discourse on podcasts and all that, because we're the fans are what keeps it alive. So as long as, like, even if you're a WWE diehard and that's 95% of your wrestling consumption, you got to try and keep an open mind. If you truly love pro wrestling, you got to keep an open mind to at least check it out, and tune in occasionally. Shit, if
That's true.
TNA came to Houston, I would attend. I mean, why not?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, yeah, I would attend too. I mean, I definitely would attend. And Lewis, and let's be honest here, man, or let's bring this up. Should TNA or should AEW be threatened at all by TNA?
Nah,
Okay.
I don't. Nah. First of all, they're not even competing on the same night,
Right.
so we can remove that possibility. There's not going to be any direct television or streaming war between AEW and TNA. Um, you want to know my honest opinion on whether AEW should see anyone as a threat? I don't think anybody is a threat to anybody. It's just a different time period. I don't even think people like to create that narrative that it's AEW versus WWE and we always have to compare the two, because naturally that's the narrative that people want to create because of all the counter programming that happened in 2025. But AEW is a different entity from WWE. They are so, it's like watching, it's night and day. People have their preferences when it comes to what they want to see on their television screens when they're watching pro wrestling. So I feel like with WWE, you're getting one thing, AEW, you're getting something completely different. And that's okay. If you're not into AEW, great. But there's also those folks who are not really into WWE like that anymore, and they would prefer AEW. Um, so to go back to your question of AEW versus TNA, whatever, man. There's no competition there.
No competition. I
First of
agree,
all,
man.
AEW has way more money,
Yeah. Yeah.
and in the short amount of time that AEW has existed, I think they've built a stronger brand
Hmm.
of pro wrestling just because they've had at least some consistency over the last 6 years. Where TNA, they just went back to being called TNA. We're going on 2 years now, I believe.
Right.
So yeah, TNA they have to rebuild that branding, and they have to rebuild that trust. So this is truly a fresh start for them. And yeah, let them be great in their own right. We don't even have to uh think of it as like, oh well, if they get big enough, they might put AEW out of business, or
Hmm.
oh maybe Tony Khan is what. Like, no, if anything, Tony Khan is applauding all of this.
I agree, man. I agree. The times is different, and TNA, AEW, and WWE. There's room for everybody. Just
Yeah.
it's a different pot for everybody. If you want something different, each one gives you something that the other doesn't, which is a good look. Some people were like, "Yo, if TNA's numbers are really good compared to Dynamite's on Wednesday, is there talks of like, what's attracting people to go over to TNA?" But remember, they had the machine WWE behind them.
Yeah.
So, but also, if that partnership goes away, it's all just TNA now. So who knows what this looks like? But the state of wrestling is looking great, Lewis. Just, I mean, listen, man, look what's happening, man. We're gonna have three major brands on cable networks and streaming device apps and all this stuff, it's a strong the wrestling industry is strong, I would say, right now.
Yes. Yes.
Really strong. And it makes content for us. And actually,
Yeah.
now, Lewis, we may have to watch this TNA. I might have to
make Thursday night a priority.
Thursday night a priority, bro. Like, just thinking about that, like having to watch TNA now. Man, just brings more content to the On the Mark Wrestling podcast.
Yeah, I can't sit here and say that I for sure will commit to watching every Thursday night. I will make the premiere priority viewing. It's just because there's too much of wrestling to keep up with throughout the week. But yeah, on a given week, if I can tune into TNA on a Thursday night, without hesitation.
Yeah, I agree. Lou, man, anything else we gotta get to, bro, on episode 113?
Nah, man, I think we covered it, and we look forward to hopefully on the next podcast or two talking about how everything plays out with John Cena's retirement and all the things going on with AEW's Continental Classic and how that's going to play out. The Continental Classic already is off to a hot start.
Mm-hmm.
We've got some banger matches, and wrestling as a whole is in a pretty interesting space right now going into 2026.
It's looking good, y'all. Well, that's it from On the Mark Wrestling Podcast. I'm your boy Kayode, the producer, joined by none other than Luis, the administrator. Joel, the hater, is coming back on assignment. But we'll be back with the 3-man band. Thank you guys for joining us. Keep following us: Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, all those good things. Until next time, y'all.
Peace out.
You have just listened to the On the Mark Wrestling Podcast, a Scriptly adapted production. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube at On the Mark Wrestling. And email us on onthemarkpodcast@gmail.com.